Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Spyderco Kapara. First of all, thank you very much for my buddy Mike for letting this pass through my hands. He actually bought this, had it sent to me, and sent it on to him. And it was pretty cool because I said, hey, I'll just play with it for a day, do first impressions, and send it on to you. And he said, no, keep it for a couple days, get some experience with it. It's the holiday weekend. I did get some really good experience with it. And it's a pretty cool knife. I will say before we start this, I did pre-order this. I think I told some of you I did. I did cancel that pre-order because basically once I saw some reviews of it, it's bigger than what I would normally carry. And there are a couple things about it that other people didn't like that I thought maybe I wouldn't like. And I was correct. It's still a really cool knife. I do love a lot about it. A couple things I really don't like about it. Size is just a personal preference thing, but it is a large knife. You're looking at almost 9 inches long. It is a very large knife. But $175. Is it a bargain? No, it's not a bargain, but it's not a ripoff. It is a Taichung made Spyderco. So it is the quality on it is excellent. Blade centering, all that stuff you want to see is outstanding. Taichung always does a great job. S30V steel, not mind-blowing, again, for $175. It does have the carbon laminate G10 scales, which you guys seem to really get upset about. It doesn't bother me in the slightest, but that is a thing. But yeah, $175, yeah, like I said, not a bargain, but it's okay. Let's do some more stats, and then we will move on, and then we will talk more about this. So we have an overall length of 8.9 inches, blade length of 3.8 inches, blade thickness of 0.14 inches, handle thickness of 0.62, and a weight of 4.29 ounces. So not a crazy heavy knife for how big it is. And how big is it, you may say? Well, let's compare it first of all to another very large Spyderco. Also belongs to my friend Mike. He loaned me here. This one does have aftermarket scales, so if you're asking, which one is that? You can't get it. He bought scales for it, but they're Shepherd CC scales, I do believe. This is the Spyderco Military, very large knife. It's not that much smaller than a military. And you guys all know the Spyderco Military is a very large Spyderco. And it ain't much smaller than that. We will compare it next up to, here's one of our usual Spyderco standards. The Paramilitary 2. Way bigger than a PM2. Your Ontario Rat Model 1, which is also a pretty large knife. But again, even bigger than a Rat 1. I'm trying to line up the pivots on here is what I usually try and do. And another one of our little standards here we always put out, Kershaw Bare Knuckle. Again, larger. And lastly, this is the knife I decided to get instead of this because people were, again, I saw some reviews of this I didn't really like. People got early releases and stuff, and then I had other people recommending me get this one, and you guys all know I like the Kapara. This is a Spyderco Kapara. And I know a lot of you guys have gotten these, so that's why I'm including it. Yeah, it kind of dwarfs the Kapara. It's a big knife is what I'm saying. As far as like the design and the look of it, I really do like the overall look of it. This is a Brian Lai design. He spells his name wrong, but we're going to forgive him for that. He's a B-R-I-A-N, I'm a B-R-Y-A-N, but we'll forgive him for that. But I know this is his first design, as I can tell, and it's a good one. He definitely did a very good job. And it's cool that Spyderco's given, new designers this opportunity to make stuff like this. I think that's pretty great. Big chance for them, but pretty cool. And look wise, I think it looks great. Again, I don't mind these scales. Some people say, oh, they look cheap. I really don't get that. I think they look great. They have a good amount of traction. One of my favorite knives is the Spyderco Native 5, and I'm sorry, the Spyderco Sage 5, and it has the same scales, and I love it, and it's fine. I really like the way that they angled the machine satin finish on here. I think that looks really sweet. I really do like that. It's a tiny little touch, but I think it looks absolutely great. It's probably honestly the easiest way to do it, but still, I think it looks pretty cool. yeah, I do really like the overall look of it. I think it's a very handsome knife, and the quality is very, very good. Blade, excellent blade. You're looking about between 21 and 19,000, depending on where you measure behind the edge, but not terribly thick blade stock. As I said, according to my calipers, 0.135 to 1.4 or something like that. I've seen, like, I think on Blade HQ they had it at 0.18. It's nowhere near that thick. Let's look here and just show that. I don't know if anybody else went off that, but yeah, I'm getting 0.1355 there. Yeah, it's not 0.18. I don't know where, and that's not the only site I saw that had it listed as that. So, just so you know, it's not that beefy of a knife, and fairly thin behind the edge, super sharp out of the box. It's Taichung stuff, always is. Sometimes sharp in places it shouldn't be. Which we may get to that later, but it's very, very slicey. Very good knife. I love the tip on this thing. If you want to do some piercing stuff, yep, it'll do that for sure. It's great for that. Compression lock flipper. Yeah, I really like the blade on it. It's a really good blade, and Spyderco does such a great job with S30V that it's not. I'm not excited that it's $175 for S30V, but I'm not upset about it either. Ergonomically, this thing is fantastic. I will say that. It is just really nice in the hand when you're holding it. Okay, let me backtrack. Ergonomically, it's great in the hand when you're holding it in the normal saber grip. It's really, really good. Can't feel that clip much at all. The jimping is awesome. You can choke up on it, and it works. You're not going to hit the blade, but here's the issue I have when you choke up on it, and the only ergonomic issue I have. This thing is almost ergonomic perfection, except for when you choke up. And honestly, I'm going to say there's nothing Spyderco could have done about this without really messing up the blade. But yeah, it does have a nice looking forward finger choil, and it is useful for that. But look at how thin that is. It's coming across. Yeah, it's the thickness of the blade. It's not sharpened, but it's sharp. I'm not sure I'd really want to be bearing down and really squeezing on this unless I was wearing gloves. So the front finger choil is mostly usable, I guess is the best way I would put that. As I said, is it a thing? Like, I'm squeezing it right now. Like, I'm not going to hurt myself, but it is uncomfortable. It's very, 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 very skinny little piece of steel there to be squeezing your beloved index finger against. Carry wise, you know what? This is a rare rare instance with Spyderco, and this year of 2018, they put the pocket clip in the right place. Look at it. It's next to the lanyard tube. It's not like the Broward or the Para 3 that, like, it's down below it and you have a whole ton of knife sticking out. Now, this is definitely not a deep carry clip. Make no mistake about that. It definitely could be lower, but if you do buy a deep carry clip for it, it will actually be deep carry. Whereas some of these other knives, like the other two that I mentioned, you buy a deep carry clip and all that deep carry clip does is make it carry like it should have in the first place. Where this actually, if you buy a deep carry clip and you don't care about that lanyard hole, it actually will deep carry. And you know what? It carries pretty darn good for a knife this size. I do have to say, that is one of the things I'm most impressed with about this, is the weight isn't bad at all, 4.3 ounces, and 4.29, whatever it was I said. It doesn't take up a ton of room in the pocket. The flipper tab is not obnoxious. You do have some sticking out with the stock clip, but again, if you get a deep carry, it'll ride really low. And really easy to get in and out. You can get your hand past it. I was really surprised how small this knife felt carrying it around. For being an almost 9-inch knife, they did an excellent job with that. It carries really, really well. Now, deployment. This we're going to spend some time talking about. This is a flipper compression lock. Not anything that Spyderco combines very often. And it kind of works. I don't know how else to put that. The detent on it is not particularly strong, but it works okay, and I get it, because if it had a really strong detent for the flipper, the Spidey Flick and all those other things aren't going to work as well. This does Spidey Flick. You know, it does Thumb Flick. It does all the stuff you want a Spyderco to do. Works great. But the problem is, when you close it, obviously, as I hit my table, that flipper tab goes right through where your finger is. Now, I'm going to give 2 schools of thought on this. With a lot of practice, and let's see if I can do it, because I've been practicing a lot. Sorry, Mike, your knife is well broken in for flipping, because I've been messing with it. Yeah, see, I almost got it that time. You can catch it and get your finger out of the way. There, I got it. You can get your finger out of the way in time. It's not something I want to do on regular deployments. So usually how you're doing it is you're closing it, you hit it, it hits your finger, and you close it with your thumb. That's how probably 85% of the time you're going to wind up closing this knife. Now that really bothered me. But I did see a video from Daddy-O EDC. I'll link to it down below. And I do have to admit, he's a fairly new YouTuber, but he made a good point. This is just a liner lock. It's your Rat 2 I have here. Is this really any different than that? No. It's still 2-step closure. So it's fine. It honestly is completely fine. It really annoyed me at first, but after I watched his video, I'm going to say that I don't know how old he is, but since he's newer on YouTube, I'm going to say the kid convinced me. Yeah, it's not really any different. It still closes in about the same amount of time than any other liner or frame lock does. And it's just don't expect that same flippy dippy that you get from a lot of other compression locks. That's not going to happen with this unless you're really skilled. And like I said, I've practiced a lot and I can do it. You know, 50% of the time I can get it. Let me see if I can do it again. I'm going to put pressure on myself. Oh, see, it bounced off. I got it, but it bounced off. There you go. See, I can do it. And you probably will too if you get one. If you have like the challenge of learning that, then maybe that makes you like it more. I don't know. But yeah, I love the blade. I love the ergos, unless you're using that front choil. That front choil is just so thin. I don't think it's really that usable. I almost kind of, in this one case, wish that they'd have just gone back and put a regular sharpening choil on it and not bothered if they were going to make it that thin. Like I said, I'm not sure what they could do to make it better. They can make the plunge all the way down to here to make it thicker. Yeah, I guess they could have done that. But yeah, I will say fit and finish wise, like I said, it's good. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention the deployment hole doesn't seem as sharp as some of the other Taichungs that I've gotten. It seems completely fine. But yeah, it's a cool knife. I don't think it's one I'm gonna buy to keep around. But if you like big Spydercos, it's definitely not a bad choice. Just know that it's not going to be the same, you know, as your PM2. It's not a compression lock that you can, you know, that you can do this with. It's not going to happen because that flipper tab is going to pass right through your finger. Unless you're a ghost, then maybe you can do it. But and again, 175 bucks, it's pushing it. But it is a very large knife. It carries extremely well for a large knife. So if you want a Spyderco that's big and carries well, this may be your thing. Just pretend that compression lock is a liner lock, because that's kind of how much time you're going to spend closing it. And be aware that front choil isn't as useful as it is in other Spydercos. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.